This is Too Stubborn to Quit, a podcast that offers stories of resilience, reinvention, and the moments in life that force us to keep going. Each week we explore real people, real setbacks, and the stubborn determination it takes to move forward when life doesn't go according to plan. And if life has ever knocked you sideways and quitting wasn't an option, you're in the right place, because that proves that we're all too stubborn to quit. Well, hi there, Miss Linda, and how are you this evening?
I'm good, Miss Pam. How are you? How was your day?
Spectacular. Spectacular. You know, it's still snow here. I'm still a little bit annoyed by the snow here, but the dog's still loving it. Loving it.
Oh, you have a husky, no doubt.
I do have a husky.
No doubt. Nope.
And
they love the snow.
He's excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but there's still probably a half an inch of snow hard packed into the roads here in our beautiful little borough. State roads are in pretty good shape, but inside town, inside the city limits here, you're gonna have to watch where you're driving.
Well, we are just about ready to get slammed between the eyeballs again down here.
I saw that. It's gonna miss us.
I know.
I'm pretty happy about
it's
that
like,
too.
You know, I thought I came further south because I wanted the warm weather.
Yeah.
But instead, what we get is like, it followed. It can be.
It certainly did. Yeah. And then, you know, it is supposed to be below, like four below tonight here, which I don't think is a lot of fun.
Oh,
yeah.
You keep that up there.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Keep all that up there.
It's chilly. Yep. It's a little chilly. So, joining us tonight is this guy here at the bottom. I've known this fella here for a really, really, really long time. This would be the more patient part of the Kane family. This would be Mr. John W. Kane Jr. Hello, John.
Hello, Pam. Hello, Linda.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hello, Mr. John.
And you might ask, why is John joining us tonight? Well, in this week's episode, we're actually going to talk about the sandwich generation. The sandwich generation is that generation where you're still taking care of maybe your adult kids, maybe grandkids, and also trying to take care of your parents. And suddenly you get kind of squeezed in the middle. And I know that this sandwich generation, there's no particular age for it. It could be at our age. It could be at our kids' age. It could be a much younger age. It all depends on how old your parents are, how old you are, how old your kids are. Regardless, like I say, it's not about age. It's more about the pressure that is put on us, because if you're taking care of kids, grandkids, and then trying to be a child to a parent who really needs you more as a parent than as a child, you know, it's hard. It's hard. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about the honesty and the emotional weight that comes from this kind of a relationship, and oftentimes the guilt that is associated with it. And so if you have ever felt stretched thin, quietly overwhelmed, or like you're carrying more than you ever realized, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. So that's the reason John's here. And Linda, you're here, and I'm here, and we've all experienced this once or twice. Me personally, I'm still dealing with it a little bit with adult cousins. I became a power of attorney a few years ago to my cousin, and it wasn't any big deal for a while until he fell. He was 74 years old and was chasing the kids off of the front street on the 4th of July. And he fell, cracked his head, broke his hip. Didn't realize he had cracked his head.
Ouch.
Until about a month later, we started seeing some really strange behavior coming out of him. And he was terribly forgetful. He called me one night at like 3:30 in the morning, and he says, "My house is so hot." Now, it was August. he refused to open windows or put an air conditioner in. And so, it was probably hot in there. But he said it was unusually hot. And I said, "Did you by chance use the oven tonight?" Turns out he had, and he drained the propane tank from using the oven because he had forgotten to turn it off. And so I ended up, he needed to go, he ultimately had brain surgery. He had a 27 centimeter bleed in his brain, and
Ooh.
it caused him to have a stroke. He left in a helicopter and never came home. He's still alive. He's in the VA home and doing okay, but the dementia has set in dramatically. And so I still have to basically take care of him, not nearly as much as we did initially. He was a bit of a hoarder. We had to take care of his house, get it ready for sale. Took us 2 years to do. There was that much stuff in there. It was pathetic. Anyway, that's all out of our lives these days.
Where is he? Where is he now?
He is
Where
in
is he
the
now?
he's in a Pennsylvania veterans home
No,
because he is a veteran.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, he's a veteran,
Yeah.
and he's at the veterans home, and he's there with. They take very, very good care of him. He doesn't know me
Good.
anymore. He knows John still, but he doesn't know me,
Oh,
and that's okay. That works. It's all good. But it was quite a mess for a bit, and I feel guilty still because I do not visit nearly like I should, and it's been a while because he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me, and so I do feel guilty for not going. We weren't that close in the first place. Yeah, you get it. Anyway, that's my quick story. But
yeah.
Linda, you said you had a story, and John, hop in here anytime you want. But Linda,
Yeah, let's roll to John. Let's roll to John because
roll to
mine's
John first.
a
Okay.
little. Yeah, let's do John because mine's way off, completely off base.
Oh no, it didn't. No, sure.
But go ahead.
Well, I think that a
Are
lot
you
of
there,
this
John?
has to do with asking for help also. And so I don't think yours is off base. I don't know what it is exactly, but I doubt that it's off base. But we'll go to John. John,
Yeah.
tell
You
us
there, John?
tell us the story about your folks, because it's
Well, kind of our folks. We had both mom and dad on both sides of the family there for the longest time, and then we lost your father, and then I guess it was trying to figure out the order there. I guess it's not important, but over the period of 20 years, we lost all four of them in different ways. Um, with your mom, she was living with us, so yeah, I was involved in taking care of what she needed, getting her to doctors and things like that when she was down here. My dad, when mom and dad left their home, mom went to a nursing home, and then dad went to my sister's until he fell one too many times and just needed to be on one floor, not going up and down steps. So sister stepped in there, but eventually they both wound up in the home. Meanwhile, we're dealing with your mom on the other side of it with her needs because of repeated different kinds of cancer that kept invading her. And eventually it got down to just dad and mom in the home. And it was just really bad because with mom, I felt so guilty. I'd go up, Beth and I would trade off on Sundays to go visit them. So somebody was visiting them every single week. And dad, I could always go up there and talk to dad. His eyesight was messed up because of macular degeneration, but he loved his nurses. Mom, she was gone. She just laid there. She didn't know we were there. She just basically looked like she was asleep for the last couple of years of her life, and her room was right around from dad's, and it would be days that dad wouldn't even go over there because it hurt too bad. So trying to speak comfort to dad was hard. I mean, what do you say? it's tough, but these things pass, and at the same time, you see things through your kids' eyes because now the kids are, they're college age at this point, and you're still trying to. They're at that awkward age where after they're past 18 and graduated, now they're legally adults and they want to be adults, but they still need parenting a little bit to fill out this, fill out that, with to keep themselves in school and enrolled and all that stuff. Um, but you have to at that point also start respecting them more as adults. So being sandwiched in the middle of that is it's kind of a tough headspace to be in.
I've always said,
trying to switch gears.
I've always said there is no harder job than being a parent to an adult child.
Yeah.
Honest to God.
Yeah.
They are so stubborn. Ugh.
Yeah. And the hard part,
I will say, go ahead.
No, good.
The hard part is probably the holidays where you miss them the most. Because it kind of gets to, as people age and as they start staying at home more or being in a home, then the holidays are sometimes the only days where more than just you or one other person is actually ever visiting them. Because during the holidays, we usually could get the boys and their girlfriends or wives, depending on when we're talking about here, to actually come along during their little Christmas parties and things that they would have at the facility. But leaving there was hard because it was always not Christmas. It was days before. It was not Thanksgiving. It was days before. And then you'd be sitting around that table and they'd be missing. They're not gone yet, but they're still missing out of your life. So it's tight. And the same thing. You're sitting around your kitchen table eating dinner, and your children are gone. They're at college or they've moved on and they're in a different town. It's an adjustment. It kind of stinks, but it gets better.
And what I was going to say earlier was that we have to figure out what our limitations are, when to ask for help. And when I say ask for help, in the case of my cousin's house, it was way too big for me to do by myself. Oh my God. I couldn't. And the stuff was heavy. I asked for help. My son, Michael, worked up there about every weekend for, oh my God, over a year. Rick's in-laws came and helped me. They put together the yard sale for us. I asked the guys that have the auction. I asked auctioneers to come in, and they had 3 different auctions for us because there was that much stuff. And so, but you have to ask for help, and that was the physical help that I needed. But there's also the emotional help that I think we should all try to ask for and not be ashamed to ask for, I guess. What do you two think of that?
That's true.
Oh,
yeah, it's definitely true. The hardest part is getting it through your brain that they're not the people that they used to be. In the case of your cousin, I was so angry with him that we were left to clean out his mess. But then the one day in particular, I think he'd gotten hurt at doing it, and we're still okay, but banged up. I was hurting, and I just really wanted to yell at him. But when we went to see him, he was so frail, and grateful that we were taking care of things for him. And all this said, well, that when we left there, I remember saying, well, that I wanted to tell him off, and he robbed me with that. So you go through a lot of you definitely need help to process those emotions and know when to keep it to yourself, and then when to share it with somebody else that can at least listen.
Linda, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think he pretty much summed up what I was thinking there. For me, my story comes from something completely different. You guys are all pretty fortunate that you had your parents. For me, I had a foster mom, which was awesome. And she stayed my foster mom till the day she died, till the day she passed. Dee pretty much took care of her. I was just kind of always in the background, I guess, whenever she really needed it and needed a little extra hand, I would go diving in. But as far as actually being there one-on-one, I wasn't. Mom came down to visit right before we moved to this new house. I kind of wish that she would have come down before that, because I think she would have stayed. What we have now, there would have been plenty of room for her. Back then, she had said a couple of things, and it was like, why don't you just stay here? We've got room. And she was, no. And it was kind of an odd situation that was going on there, but not something that I can actually say, because that wasn't my story to tell.
Right.
But, I don't have that. I never had that same situation with parents that you guys have. I have seen a lot of people and situations with their parents and whatnot that here's what I would say about parents is the spectrum for parents is so huge. And, we're older now. We are that next generation that's basically going to say goodbye. We never dreamed that we would ever get to that point.
Nope.
You don't think it, because, when you're in your 30s, when you're in your 20s, you're just like, you got the world by the balls. You're in your 30s and you're like, maybe I don't quite have, maybe I don't quite have it, And then when you hit your 40s, you start seeing your own parents decline. And I remember Dee and I talking one time, and she was a little upset about Mom. And I said, look, I don't think you realize that we watched Grandma pass, but Mom is now in that grandma stage. She's at that stage now, where she's frail, she's slower. Well, now we wake up and we're there, and it's like, what the hell happened through all of this? You know what I mean? It was like our lifespan just trugs along. You don't realize it until you wake up one day, and it's like, well, snap! That wasn't quite what I was expecting through all those years. But we're there. I mean, we are where our parents were. You guys, you really have had to deal with quite a bit there. Like I said, I didn't have that same situation. So,
Made us stronger.
Where my parents are concerned, huh?
I said it made us stronger.
Say?
It made us stronger.
I'm sure it did. I don't doubt it. Yeah, I'm sure. Mine is completely different. I'm not going to pull the whole ball of wax out of the bag. But as I said earlier, I grew up in foster care from the age of 12 on. And my own father, this is something that I never actually told you. Actually, the only one that really knew about it were like 3 people. My own father walked out when I might have been 8 years old. We still lived in Philly. So this is just a little backstory, because this kind of leads up to what took place with my father. He disappeared completely. Walked in the house one day, and the house was empty, completely empty.
Oh my.
And so we literally got in the vehicle and we drove to Hares Valley, Mapleton Depot, Hares Valley area. And there was a farm there, so that's where we settled into. And the only thing I know about my father was that when Josephine felt the need to put me in line, it was always a threat. You're going to go live with your father. Okay. That would have been a blessing. But, you hear things over the years and you don't realize how much is true and how much is not. And like I said, this is parent from a completely different aspect. And so I always thought growing up through the years that my father got married again, that he had more children, and I was just an afterthought. So I believed that for 45 years. I was just an afterthought.
I have to
And the
interrupt
funny
you
thing is
I have to interrupt you for a second, just so that the listeners know who Josephine was. Josephine was your mom, your real mom, right?
Oh, she was the one that birthed me. That's as far as we'll go with that one right now.
All right.
But she's a special kind of lady.
She was.
And I use that word loosely. Anyhow.
Anyway, Dad, back to Dad.
Anyhow. Yeah. So, all right. So here's the thing. Never talked about Dad because Dad was just not in my life. The only thing I remember about my father was that he would take me to work every day, especially when school was out, and I sat in the car, I sat in the truck, and he would take peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and he would come during his lunch break and sit and eat with me, but then would tell me to sit and be a good girl for the rest of the day. And then when I got home, it was the situation. Like I said, I was a little kid then. He would say, hey, just stay here. Let me go in and see what's going on in the house. And then he would determine whether he was going to take me in the house or we would go for a ride that day. But that's all I remember of my father. Okay. So funny thing, and here I am now, an adult. I'm in my 40s. And, Jill and I, we drove over 1 million miles in our lifetime. So when you're driving, you get to spend a lot of time thinking and talking and mulling things over. And she and I were on a trip one time, and this was, I want to say, in November or December, somewhere in that time frame. Anyhow, I was in the passenger seat, and I was playing online, and for whatever reason, we were talking about my father because he had hit my mind. And we started talking about him, and she started asking me questions. So I got online and I typed in his name, and it came up that he had died. And I was like, well, shit, I didn't, and that instant sinking feeling that it was over. I was never actually going to get to see him. I was never actually going to get to meet him. And I think in the back of my head, I'd always dreamed that I would get the opportunity to get to know my father, but I never did. So as I'm going down through there, I see an obit, and it starts saying about him, and I'm thinking, this sounds like him. And then he says he's he has one daughter, and her name is Linda. That's all it says. I mean, the obit was just tiny, like 10 sentences maybe. And I'm like, and I'm reading it to Jill, and I'm like, WTF? What is this? And, we're kind of going back and forth. I closed it down because it was a little unnerving, to be honest with you.
Oh, sure.
And at the time it was like, yeah, you don't get to know. But anyhow, sometime in March or April of the next year, I'm out in Colorado. And as I'm coming out of Colorado that day, I am in the middle of tornadoes and hail coming down so friggin' bad that it looked like snow. So I decided to stop that day, and I'm in a truck stop called Mittens out on I-70, and it was just a horrible day all around. I went from Denver to maybe 200 miles into Kansas the whole day. It was that bad of a day, but at the end, so I take care of my animals that I have on board. I go in to have dinner, and my sister, she's on Facebook and at this point we were just starting to talk again. She texts me and she says, "Hey," she says, "John needs you to get a hold of him. There's a lawyer and your uncle's looking for you." And I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, it's something about your dad." And I'm like, okay, well, this is a little weird. So later that day, I at some point I give John a call, and he's like, "Yeah, Uncle so and so, he needs to get a hold of you." And so I come to find out that my father was murdered by his wife.
Oh my God.
And yeah, yep. But it gets really good. She's like my age, okay. And there's a whole thing there, but whatever it is. So through all of this, I'm like, what the hell? And anyhow, yeah. So I never actually got to meet my dad. I mean, and that was a missed opportunity that never got fulfilled. It was really kind of odd. But long story short, he lived in a little town called Little Egg Harbor. And we had clients there that used to come
In
out
New
of there
Jersey.
twice. We used to go there. We actually used to drive in and out of there twice a year, every year for a client. And we did that for 7, 8 years. And it was like, I could have passed my father and never known it.
Yeah.
Literally. I could have been standing beside him and not known it. Okay. So through all of this, I start following spoke with an uncle, and he said, we've been looking for you. And I'm like, well, I'm not that damn hard to find. I'm like, I got a business and I'm on the internet. You can't miss me. I'm kind of loud and obnoxious. And he's like, yeah, so he tells me about it. And it turns out that his wife was drinking, and apparently this had been going on. And he went to go to work because he worked up at the casinos. Now he was in his 70s when this happened, but he went to walk to work, and his wife got in her car, and ran his ass over. Like, she went over the curb and ran him over, backed up, went down the road, turned around, and came back and did it a second time.
Wow.
Just to make sure she got him good.
That's woman with a vengeance.
So do you know how long she did, sir? You know how long she did time for? This is society putting a value on a life.
6 weeks, 6 months.
She did 6 years.
6 years. That's
6
close.
years. 6 years. And she only did 6 years and the judge was like, took pity on her because she was an alcoholic and she had a bad life. She had a hard life. And she gave a boo-hoo story about how bad her life was and why she was an alcoholic.
Wow.
So, yeah. So anyhow, yeah, that was weird. That was really weird. I wanted to go to the trial, and I had every plans of going, and I actually had set time up, but something went sideways, and I didn't actually manage to make it to the trial. Probably a good thing, because I think I would have blown my gasket.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to her say that.
So you said that he only had
yeah.
one daughter, and that was you. But you have
Yeah.
siblings, so I guess Josephine. Like,
Well,
what's up with that?
Yeah, it turns out that my two. Yeah, there's some weird stuff there. But anyhow, my two older brothers, 3 brothers, because there's one younger than me, that is supposed to be from the same father. They got adopted. And I got into it with my uncle at the time because, I call him and I say, I understand you're looking for me. And he's like, well, are you Linda Jean? And I went, I get that bristle because I don't like you were raised Catholic and it's got to have both them names. And it's like, no, my name is Linda. Yes, my middle name is Jean. My friends know me as Lynn. What would you like to use? And he was like, well, we've been looking for you. Okay, you found me. What's up? Well, you understand your father's been killed. And I said, well, I heard about it. I don't really know much. And I'm like, I'm not really sure what exactly you want from me. And he was like, well, you were his daughter. And I went, so I've been told. I said, but the only thing I remember of my father was him keeping me alive when I was a kid. That's the only thing I remember. I said, what about his other kids? He said, what other kids? I said, didn't he get married and have other kids? And I did eventually go to my uncle's house and sat with him for a couple of hours.
That's good.
And he was able to give me pictures of my dad and my brothers, because turns out my brothers actually had a relationship with him. And not one said a word about where I was or who I was.
Unbelievable.
Not one word. Not one word. And I'm like, hell, that was nice of them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I have pictures of them with them. And it's like, well, that's special. So anyhow, yeah, so he and I kind of got into a bit of a tiff at the time, because it was like, he starts asking me, and I'm like, do you not know what took place in our family? Do you not know where I went? Do you not know where that I would spend, 8 years in foster care, protective custody? Did you not know this? And he's like, oh, all we know is you disappeared. And I'm like, why did my father come look for me? And, well, I guess from what they said, that he actually did. He looked all over for me. But, I became 45 years old, and I guess I found him before he found me.
That's a shame. I'm sorry, buddy.
Well, and again, parents are not perfect.
No, they're not.
We grow up believing that our parents are the bee's knees, and some of us find out at an early age that they're not.
And I think about that a lot, because God knows I wasn't mom of the year every year. Never got the trophy.
Close.
Never.
You're damn close.
Well, I appreciate that, but I never got the trophy. And I do often feel guilty about that, because I got to a point in my life that I just, dear God, if I don't do something different, I'm going to bust, And that's when I went to college, and Michael still tells the story, and if he's listening, I still hear this from time to time. And in fairness to him, he hasn't said it in a while, but there used to be a point that he would say, I would go entire weeks without ever seeing my mom, because I would drop him off at school at 8:30 in the morning after having worked a shift on air at the radio station from 5 to 8. I'd run home, get Mike, his mom got him ready for school, and then I'd drop him off at school. I would go open the store, and then around 3:30 he'd get off the bus. I'd give him a kiss. He'd go home with Grandma. I'd go off to Penn State until 10 o'clock at night. I wouldn't get home till 11, never ate dinner until 11. I'd get up and do it all over again the next day. And Mike tells people there were entire weeks that I never saw my mom. So, there's that.
How old was he then?
What's that?
How old was he? How old was Mikey then?
In probably 3rd or 4th grade. So 10 or so.
Okay.
What do you do? I mean, it was either that or explode. I was going to explode. So, I mean, and I.
Do you not think though that you taught your son a bit of tenacity, a little bit of excuse me, pardon my. Do you not think that you didn't teach him other things? That you didn't quit? That you kind of shot for the stars, and I got to tell you, you got them.
I got some of them
in the long run. People say don't ever do this, but I'm going to ask you. If you would not have gone to college, think of the alternative universe, that you didn't go to college. I
It'd
can
be
guarantee
bad.
you and I wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
No,
We
we
wouldn't be
wouldn't.
sitting here doing this.
No,
No.
no. I needed to
So
make
in the
sure
long
that
run,
we were going to be taken care of. Because, John's job was good at the time, but then eventually it fizzled. And, I needed to make sure that we were going to be taken care of, the whole group of us. That was my primary purpose, just to make sure that there was a future. And so that's why I did it. Not that John, we would have figured it out. We would have figured, like we always do.
Always do.
Yep.
do you think it would have been harder?
Yes,
Do you think it would have been harder?
absolutely.
I mean, how many years did it take for you to get get your degree?
Mm.
Took me
6 years?
6 years to get through a
Yeah.
4-year degree because the first 2 years I went part-time at night. I'd take 6 credits a semester because I couldn't get there until 6 o'clock at night. And they're hour-and-a-half classes, so till I'm done, it's 10, and and I was working full time, raising 2 kids, had 2 different jobs at one point. Then there were 3 different jobs, and still going to college all at the same time. And my dad had just died, which is partly the reason I probably went insane and did what I did. Because I got to the age of 36 and realized that my life was really, really small. And that's how I felt. And it wasn't that it was, but I looked at my dad and he had done all this stuff, had such a good time and laughed all the time and and it was just one of those things that I really needed to have something more than the little store in downtown Huntington. I just needed to have a larger worldview, and it was mind numbing how much of a draw and a pull that was. Just it was ridiculous. There was nothing that I could do to make it stop, and I tried for years to make it stop, and just couldn't. I couldn't make it stop, and so I did it. And it was right after I got accepted to college. Dad died on January 24th, and I got accepted to college in March or so of that year. And in the meantime, I took a job working at WXMJ at the radio station voluntarily. Like, I didn't get paid. He gave me advertising for the kite shop, gave me advertising for the store.
Yeah,
But I didn't get
I
paid.
remember that. Yes.
Yeah. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. I told people for the longest time that was the most fun I ever had with my clothes on. It was true. We had a blast, but it was not sustainable. That was the problem. It just wasn't sustainable because I was I was I was in Mount Union, 22 minutes away at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning because I had opened the radio station, and we had a live show starting at 6. You had to write the news, you had to get everything ready, including the coffee, and that all came at early, and then I would drop Mikey off again, like I said, at 8 o'clock. Or I'd get home here at 8 o'clock, get Mikey ready for school, take him to school, and then pick him up at 3:30. At which point I'd be in the car and heading to Altoona so that I could do my 2 classes of the evening. And this was every day. It wasn't sustainable. But so the radio
So do you
station,
think your kids have, do you think your kids forgive you for that?
Rick did. And when you asked a minute ago, do you think that Michael got something from that? I don't know if Michael did, but Rick definitely did. I look at Rick and I see me 100%. He's crazy, driven, won't quit. Just won't quit. Dear God, he won't quit. And he's working. He's got 3 kids, a beautiful wife, a full-time job, and then like 4 or 5 part-time jobs that he does all the time.
Wow.
Now they're all within his
Yeah.
field, but it's all the time. And because he's crazy.
Well, you weren't alone. So that while you were true, maybe he didn't get to see you as often as he liked. I was there constantly.
That's
And I
right.
like to think that, I'd sit here and he'd struggle with his homework. So I'd just bring work home and I do my homework as he did mine. And we just together, I think we got a little closer, even though, through it. So it's not all on you. There was things going on in the background there while you were out being crazy. There was still, and your mom was there too. So the kids certainly were not neglected or abandoned or
And I
any of
know
that.
that.
So I think,
Believe me.
I don't regret that you did what you did. I don't, yeah, I was the bad guy and said the radio station, you're gonna kill yourself because you weren't getting enough sleep and you're falling asleep on the road. And yeah, it was a shame. It was a lot of fun. I got to play with that once in a while with you, and it was cool. But wow, like you said, not sustainable. If you want to stay awake and not drive off the road or hit a deer or something. But and Rick went on to work for the radio station himself.
Yes, he did.
So and Michael is
I
just as crazy, just as driven as we. Michael was just different. We're like confused and logical thinkers, and Michael is my creative. We're left brain, he's right brain. It's just a different point of view, and it's a beautiful thing. And so Michael being very compassionate, he does take things to heart, and that's not a bad thing. Um, but it is one of those challenges of trying to balance work life, work school. Everyone's gotta work through it. And Michael did. He did. He understood. And
And I think that's actually what it did teach Michael.
yeah,
You asked that question. What did it teach Mike? It taught Mike to never give up. Michael has had
Yeah.
himself into some pretty deep doo over the years, varying things, you name it, from A to Z. And you know what? He's figured it out. All
that's
of it.
right.
All
Yep.
of it. By himself. He didn't.
Yep.
We tried to help. Trust me on when I tell you, like I said, being a parent to an adult child is the hardest job you'll ever have. I tried to help him. He didn't want my help. Ever. For any reason. And you know what? The little shit's figured it out, including
right.
the most recent nonsense that he's been in deep with. And he's got it all figured out. And I couldn't be prouder, Linda. Honestly, I couldn't be prouder.
Well, then listen, if he's gotten it figured out, that means you did something right as a parent.
I hope so. Yeah.
So many, I think that here's what I've learned over the years. And being a parent's one of the greatest things that you'll ever do.
Absolutely.
And, I come from something completely off the fucking wall, something way beyond. So for me, being a parent was having to learn what was never taught me. Okay. And I got it wrong. I got a lot of it wrong, but I also got some of it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, if your children are not in jail, not dead, not on drugs, you did something right.
Yeah.
And for me as a parent, I had to learn to tell my kids I was sorry. I had to not be afraid to do that. And that was really super difficult. You know, I had to admit that, hey, I did the best I could do with what I had available, but there were a lot of extenuating circumstances that most people didn't know and didn't understand.
Right.
And it was easy to, it's easy to judge somebody when you've never walked their shoes or
You're
walked their
right.
path. So as a parent, if you can, even as adult, when your children get to be adults, and let me put it to you this way. I had a preacher tell me when I was going through my hardcore mind change therapy. He told me one of the greatest lessons that I think that it helped me start my way to a path that I could be a functioning adult, there's a difference between being a functioning adult and being what I call a good, sustainable adult parent.
Yeah.
And he told me one time, he said, just because they're your parents doesn't make them right. And I came from a whole generation of, they were so far off in left field that for me to hear that, it was like, really? It was such a mind-blowing thing to hear that parents are not always right. And it's like, it's okay. And I've learned over the years that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not get it just right. But when you know for a fact that what you did, because you thought at the time it was going to be okay for this reason, but what you didn't factor in were all these extenuating circumstances of how other people were going to react to what you were doing.
Yeah.
That you can't, does that make sense? You can't control that. I found out things later after from the decisions that I thought, because I thought they were the best for my children at that time. And then I found out all this other stuff going on, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's not what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, it's like you said, as an adult, you're like, oh shit, I got that wrong. I got that really wrong, and my kids paid for some of it.
Did you ever did you ever forgive your parents, I guess?
No. Okay. I don't want to say no. See, because I think that, again, human relations are vast and they encompass so much. And so I have to be careful how I say this. I did go to Josephine's house as an adult. I spent the night there. Oh, I also locked a chair under the door thing.
I don't blame you.
I didn't want any surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the in-laws was saying, that we should go and help her out, and as kids. And it was like, well, here's my thoughts to you. You go ahead and help her out, but let us know when you're going so that when nobody sees you in like 2 weeks, we can go in the basement and find you. But anyway, and I say that, but it's the truth. Okay, so all joking aside, when a parent goes out of their way and they really are making the best decisions with what they have available at that time, and I mean that mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and even financially and physically, parents make decisions based on what's in front of them. But I draw the line where abuse comes in. And I say abuse as mental, emotional, physical, all of this. Okay. So I was able to get to the point where I could look at this woman and say, I've come to grips with what has happened as a child. Would I allow you to do it again? The answer is no. Would I put myself in a position where somebody could do that again? That's a flat no. And we kind of had, I don't want to say we had anger words, because we didn't. I just was very blunt as to where I stood with her in my life. My father, I never had that opportunity. That I have to tell you that that actually aided me for quite a few years,
I'm sure.
because I did try to find him once, and I did write him a letter. I did make that effort, and I never got. That's a kind of like a hanging chad. It's this there flapping. Um, I felt a lot different when I heard his story that my uncle told me. That was different. That was pretty hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that one just kind of sat there. It sat like a kind of like a big lump of bread in your throat. Will I ever get to? I might, you know.
You
I
know,
For
you
right
might.
now though, the answer is no.
Or,
Right now the
he
answer is
might know. He probably does know. That's the thing. He probably does know.
yeah, and
The fact
my
the
family
fact that you
was
couldn't get him
so
out of
very.
your head the day that you found out, it says to me that he was thinking about you.
I agree with you. I do.
Mhm.
I do. See, I totally believe in the Holy Spirit, and I say this as different because I have been in situations where people have popped into my head for no reason. And I start thinking about them. And then when I talk to them later, they're like, oh, yeah, so and so, that happened. I was like, you're shitting me. And it's like, okay, that's just weird. That's weird. And it's still weird as an adult. It was weird as a kid. It's still weird today. But yes, I do agree with you that he potentially was thinking about me.
I think so.
And so I kind of go with that.
I
I go
think you
with that.
should.
But
Mhm.
for me, it just was a long list of stuff that I could never control. So as an adult now, um, I know that I did things that I thought was good for my children. And I found out afterwards it really wasn't for them, not for me, but for them. And it was hard. It was hard looking at my children and saying, I'm really sorry. It's not what I meant to happen. But again, as
But
adults, as parents, you just do what you think is best. Doesn't
but
always work.
do you think that your kids have, I mean, I know that your kids have adapted very well, but what's your opinion? I mean, I think
Yes.
that both of them are awesome, you know.
My children are like yours. They're the bee's knees. They are solid adults. And I think when I finally realized that at the end of the day, it was about being a good person, the best that you could be, not to see what you could get, but being the best that you could be. And it doesn't mean getting it right all the time. When I close my eyes for the last time, I know that my children are going to be great people. My son is a great father, and it took a long time to realize that it may have been what I was put on this earth for, was to break that chain
Yep.
that was happening in my family. It took a long time to get there, to realize that.
I'm
But
glad you did. That's
my
good.
son does my son does not abuse his child. And if you look at my son, he has a wholesome, whole family.
Yeah.
That.
There
And
you go.
my daughter is, she's going to be on in a couple of weeks when we go to Iceland. So
That's so cool.
we're going to Iceland for her 41st birthday.
That's really
And
cool.
we're going dog sledding. Nope, we're going dog sledding.
That's great. That's great. I can't wait to see those pictures. All right, John, anything you want to add?
Listen,
Oh, if anyone's out there struggling, I just say hang in there. It's a tough part of life, and the waiting is the hardest part. It's true when you've got folks that are in the end days of their life, and all you can do is yeah, be there for them. Same thing with your adult kids. We make mistakes. I think we own them. Yeah, you no matter what, family matters. And if you don't always have to forgive somebody, but holding a grudge for somebody that did something that they probably even forgot that they did is only poisoning your own soul. So you just have to you do what you have to do to get through, and just realize that they're just doing the same thing too. Whether they're kids, parents, we're all just trying to everybody's just trying to do the best.
That's good. All right, Linda, anything else?
I'm good. I think I said too much tonight. How about you?
Never. It's all good. Yeah, I'm golden. But what I do want to tell everyone is that we truly appreciate you tuning in. If you made it the whole way here to the end, would you please leave a heart and leave us a comment telling us you made it to the end. Share your stories with us. We'd love to hear them. We do have some new merch. Hold that up there, Linda. Hold up your cup. There we go. There you go. You are stronger than you know. And it says so right there on the cup. But beyond all that, we have new merch, and you can give us that website again, Linda. Do you know what it is? What's the website?
Printify. Yeah, it's Printify.
It's too stubborn to quit.printify.me.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's right. There you
And
go.
it's
I knew between the service we get it.
2 as in number 2, stubborn, number 2, quit at printify.me.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think it's TOO 2 stubborn 2 TOQUIT.
Okay.
Because you told me I had to stop using the number 2. Remember?
Yeah, I know.
So it's TOO.
All right. It's all my fault.
All
All right. Anyway, so we do have merch, and we'll be back next Friday with a brand new episode, and so we hope that you share. Good news for us, we are up. Our subscriber count is up on YouTube, and our view time is up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is where you can find this on all of your favorite podcast networks: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else that you like to listen. So until next week, I want you guys to stay strong, stay stubborn, don't quit, don't give up, and take the time to ask for help if you need it. And once you've done that, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, forgive those who have hurt you, because even if you can't forgive them to their face, forgive them in your heart. Because if you forgive them in your heart, you are going to make sure that things get better for you even. So, guys, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, follow, and share. And until next Friday, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. See ya!
Bye.